Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
and welcome to Cousins Gymnasium on the campus of Tufts University for this afternoon's matinee matchup between the Skidmore College Thoroughbreds and the Johns Hopkins University Blue Jays in the first round of the Division III NCAA tournament. It is not often that athletic firsts come here to Medford, but today is an exception, as it is the first time that Johns Hopkins and Skidmore are playing in women's basketball. Johns Hopkins comes in off of a loss in the Centennial Conference Championship game, looking to avenge their first-round loss in the NCAA tournament to Mount St. Mary's last year. On the other hand, Skidmore looks to keep the good times rolling, as they had a big-time win in the Liberty League Championship game over Ithaca College last weekend to qualify themselves here. Today, March basketball returns to Medford. 64 teams.
Quick break for the anthem. We'll be right back.
64 teams, as I was saying, who are all listening to the national anthem at some point today, getting ready to go for their first-round games. 64 teams on a journey towards a national championship, but at the end, only one will stand victorious. The NCAA D3 Women's Basketball Tournament starts right now, exclusively on JumboCast. I'm Riley, and alongside me is the sensational fellow sophomore David Latham. David, obviously, these teams have never seen each other before, so maybe you can help them and our friends at home and tell us who to watch out for.
I absolutely can. Thank you, Riley. So one thing to note about these two teams I'm going to point out is their reliance on depth as opposed to a couple of standouts shouldering the load. I mean, obviously, these are two NCAA tournament teams. They have top performers on both sides, and I'll get to that in a second. But first, let's take a look at the depth on both of these teams. There's only one double-digit scorer on both of these teams combined, and that's Hopkins' Olivia Parisi. And yet, Skidmore and Hopkins have 8 and 5 players, respectively, with 5+ points. So that margin there between 5 and 10 points, both these teams have tons of players who are working together, contributing 6, 7, 8 points a game. Skidmore especially uses their entire lineup every game. They have a smaller roster, 13 players, as opposed to Hopkins' 21. But not a single player on this team plays more than 25 minutes a game. And yet almost their entire lineup, gets consistent playing time, 10, 15 minutes a game. They lack a double-digit scorer, as I mentioned, but everyone contributes in the scoring. Everyone gets on the glass. They split rebounds pretty well. Even the guards come and crash. They don't have a ton of height on this team. And they also all contribute on the defensive end, sharing blocks, sharing steals. So we see that reliance also in bench points. Let's take a look at this. You mentioned their win in the Liberty League Championship over Ithaca. They outscored Ithaca 23-11 in bench points that game. That might seem like a big margin, but let's look at the semifinal game against Vassar. They won the bench point battle 45-11. In their final regular season game, they outscored Clarkson's bench 40-8. They're relying on these these bench players that come in and sub in when their starters are tired. If you're Hopkins, there's really nobody you can afford to make the defensive focus, because whether it's Blank, Plage, Horger, Medola, Chambers, any of these players, you can't afford to slack off anybody or they'll make you pay. Now, there's similar strength and depth on the Hopkins side, but I'm going to focus for just a quick second on their all-Centennial selections. Those are first team Olivia Parisi and second team Michaela O'Neill. Look at Parisi, grad student. She starting for this team around a third of the way into the season. She makes almost the most shots on the team. Her and O'Neill share, but again, the whole team shares the load. She doesn't take threes, but she uses her physicality to drive strong, draw fouls. She has the most free throws attempted on the team by a wide margin and shoots at an 85% clip. That's what makes her, part of what makes her such an effective scorer. She's also super efficient for field goal, 48%. And, huge contributor on the grass. So she's someone to look out for on that side.
Yeah, and here she is starting the game. I will note Olivia Parisi is the only player on this floor who has won an NCAA tournament game prior to today, but that is all about to change. Tip-off is won by Skidmore, quickly in the hands of Greta Miller. And taking that one up is Becca Horger. Swung to the top. Davidson. Medola Davidson, 3. Rims out, and that board is corralled there by Greta Miller. Quickly coming the other way is Hopkins. Hand off to Kendall Dunham. Here is Michaela O'Neill. Jaden Murray down low. Here is Parisi trying to cut baseline, swings it, extra pass was there, decide not to take it, kicks to the corner, 3 is up, rims out, second chance for Murray, up and in.
Both these teams start with a missed three-pointer, but Hopkins getting on the glass early. They like to crash offensively from the outside and gets the first bucket of this game.
Yep, absolutely. Here's Emma Plage, handoff to Medola. Davidson thought about another 3. Looking for some help, gets it. Up, forced out, jumper is up and no good there for Julia Blank, and then a poor outlet pass there from Greta Miller leads to a Blue Jay turnover.
Yeah, and I mean, that pass to Kendall Dunham, she's the one who shot that first 3. We noticed, we were talking about the starting lineup for this team today. They've got Dunham in, obviously she's listed at 5'3", and then Jaden Murray is listed at 6'1", replacing, players who would normally play in the sort of 5'8", 5'11" range. So they're going with more of a stereotypical big, small, sort of your normal positional lineup here, and that might be a response to Skidmore's general lack of height and sort of trying to spread them out in that way.
Yeah, good job there on the defensive end, forcing Cassie Davidson into that charge. A little bit sloppy here early on. Here's Michaela O'Neill again. Greta Miller going to drive, get to the rim, and no, second chance is not good for Murray. Gets her own rebound, kicks. Hopkins aggressive on the offensive board, driving hard, and they're not going to give the foul on the shot. I believe they're going to call that on the floor, as they're going to get that foul on Becca Horger. Good drive there from Kendall Dunham.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw on that play, as I mentioned, Murray sort of adding height to this team. She's 6'1". Really nobody on Skidmore matching that unless they get 2 offensive rebounds there. They've got Blank on her. She leads this team in points and rebounds, so she's going to need to step up and start doing that if they want to keep Murray off the glass.
Good save by Olivia Parisi. Now it's Dunham. 8 on the shot clock. Around the Murray pick and roll. Dunham to the rim, foul, and 1!
And that's one heck of a finish from Kendall Dunham. I mean, she drew the foul. She had a lot of height to give up, and a swifty little spin around backhand play to get the bucket anyway.
Yeah, Kendall Dunham being very aggressive driving here. Skidmore quickly going to make a substitution. Into the game will be Madison Meyer. Exiting the game will be Becca Horger.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of quick substitutions like that all game for Skidmore.
Hockey style, we like to call it up here. As now bringing the ball up will be Amelia Medola. Skidmore looking for something to get going. Medola to the outside, Emily Plage. Cuts left. Look to travel, got her pocket picked anyway. Miller coming the other way for the Blue Jays. Dunham. Into Parisi. Fake the shot, gonna drive right now. Backing her down, up and under, looking for help. Turnaround jumper, got it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a case of good defense, better offense. I mean, Emmy Plage not giving her any space the whole time, had her hands up, avoided making a foul. We note that she's a really smart defensive player, a lot of blocks and steals, limits defensive fouls. But at the end of the day, Olivia Parisi gets up and over anyway for the bucket.
Emily Blank could not get a handle on it, and right now Skidmore is really skidding.
You prepped that one, Riley?
I did.
How long have you been thinking about that one?
For a couple of days, maybe. Timeout, Skidmore on the floor. It's easy to see why. It's great when you have a team that has no superstars, so you can rely on many players. But if all of them are cold, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, Skidmore so far struggling on both ends of the ball, and really it's not for, a lack of their shots falling. They're just don't really seem comfortable in their offensive sets. We've seen a couple sloppy plays already on both ends. Passes thrown, hitting the back of someone's foot and going out of bounds. Someone wasn't ready for a pass, giving up easy foul steals. So they're going to try to control it more, and I think this timeout was really a good play to settle the players down and get them to calmly move into their sets.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing they definitely need to work on is that Jaden Murray, the center for the Blue Jays, currently has more offensive rebounds than they have defensive rebounds, and that is just not a recipe for success.
Yeah, that's not going to work, and I mean, we noted that was sort of a game plan thing. She's not a usual starter for Hopkins, but Skidmore's got to come up with something, and so far that idea has been working out well. She's been playing fantastically. We also noticed she had that nice steal on the drive on the other end.
Looks as if Hopkins going to make some substitutions here. Murray will take a seat. Kara Milliken coming in alongside her is Zoe Sewell. Parisi, Miller, and O'Neill will stay out there for the Blue Jays. For the Thoroughbreds, it'll be Grace Soltis getting in, as well as Kristen Ralston, with 3 starters remaining on the floor. Hopkins with the ball, up 7-0, 3 minutes into the game here. Handoff Michaela O'Neill. Here is Parisi. Gonna drive. Go back the other way. Up. Turn around. Got another. Man, she is really good at that spot.
Yeah, she has made it look easy on those little pull-ups so far.
Madola handoff. Maddie Hastings. Driving hard is Blank, and she lost it. Right now, everything that Skidmore touches seems to be falling apart.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, not even just cold in the shooting. They just can't seem to, manage the ball properly. Ball security, a real issue so far for them.
Greta Miller. Looking for Parisi, wasn't there. Miller going to drive around the Parisi screen, up and under. A lot of contact, no foul. Parisi with the offensive board. Miller swings. Gets it back, going to drive baseline. Skip pass, open 3, Michaela O'Neill. Front rim. And a big board there by Emmy Plage.
I mean, she doesn't mind that shot. O'Neill takes the most threes on this Hopkins team by a good margin. Shoots around 30%. So not necessarily a standout percentage, but she likes that shot, and she takes it more than any player on this team.
Michaela O'Neill saves that pass from Zoe Sewell. Hopkins will reset. A little bit of fancy handling from Sewell, now into Parisi. Turns to face up, gonna drive right. Little floater, gets the foul, she'll get to the line.
Yeah, and I mentioned at the beginning of this game how adept she is at driving strongly, using her physicality to draw fouls if she isn't gonna get the bucket. And then, I mentioned 83% free throw shooting. If you're Skidmore, fouling her when she gets in low is not a viable option.
Yeah, you mentioned free throw shooting. Well, she's an 83% shooter, but on this whole, Hopkins is not exactly a great free throw shooting team. They shoot 66% from the line. Skidmore not much better, shooting 68.
So I guess your takeaway there, Riley, is it generally might be an effective strategy to, give up fouls if it's going to be an easy layup. But
yeah, if you have to, hack-a-shack is a strategy.
I would say Parisi not the player to do it to, but 1 for 2 there.
Yeah, and a double-digit lead, less than 5 minutes in this game for the Blue Jays.
And, you got to think Skidmore is just trying to take the lid off the basket at this point.
Absolutely. Hastings going to drive, stop, kick. 3 is way off. That is an absolute air ball from Kate McCarney. And it looks as if the bus ride up from Scarsdale has definitely affected the shooting stroke of the Thoroughbreds.
Yeah, and if you're trying to spark something, as I mentioned, that pull-up's probably not what they're going for. If I'm Skidmore right now, I'm looking to move it around, slow down on offense, and get a good mid-range or in-close shot.
Absolutely. Here is Hallie Egan. Down low to Murray. Murray just backing her down, goes right up strong and finishes.
Murray subbed out, was not out for long, and that's why. We see when she comes back in, immediate impact.
Handoff McCarney. Little spin move there. And right into traffic and getting bailed out with a foul call is Madison Meyer. She'll get to the line to see if she can get the first points for the Thoroughbreds. Meyer's first is good, getting Skidmore on the board. I mean, we've seen plenty of times. We've seen it with the Jumbos. We've seen it in neutral games where all it takes is one basket and then you get right back into the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they needed something to jumpstart this offense, and there isn't anything super momentum shifting or exciting about a pair of free throws, but sometimes that's what you need to slow down, put points on the board, and get in your groove.
Absolutely. Zoe Sewell being guarded. Hard finish, rims out. That ball on the floor, and that's going to be a tie-up. Possession error belongs to Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, and that should not be a surprising sight in an NCAA tournament game. Ball on the floor, and you see 5 players diving after it.
Yeah, and you notice both coaches were very much encouraging that you got to be on the floor in a tournament game. You don't get a second chance here. Here is Egan going to take it. Way short. Second chance, O'Neal. That one's way off. And another tie-up. This time it'll go Skidmore's way.
And I mean, Hopkins has really built this lead so far with offensive rebounding, physicality down low, obviously a couple of nice finishes from Olivia Parisi, but as we see on this play, it hasn't exactly been lights out finishing or shooting from them so far. That's not how they've built this lead.
No, I don't have the stats directly in front of me right now, but I'd be willing to bet they're shooting below 50% right now. Here is Kate McCarney for Skidmore, and she's going to get called for a travel. There was definitely a violation there. I think it was a double dribble, not a travel, but nonetheless, it'll be Skidmore ball. Parisi coming back into the game for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and I do have the stats here, Riley, so I will say that you are correct. Only 38.5% from the field so far for Johns Hopkins, but I mean, they've taken 13 shots and Skidmore has taken 4.
Yeah, so you can shoot badly when you are out shooting them by 9 points in a quarter. Parisi. Kristen Ralston now. Dunham going to drive, kick. Sewell thought about it, pulls up at the free throw line. Back rim, no, gets her own rebound and finishes.
Story of the game. What did we just say? I mean, she misses the first shot, but Hopkins has the bodies in. Even if they don't get that rebound because they're being contested, they bounce it out and it turns into 2 points.
Good kick there. Going to drive and finish nicely is Madison Meyer, who has the only 4 points of the day for the Thoroughbreds.
Yeah, Madison Meyer
Dunham
coming in
down
off the
low
bench.
and a foul. They're going to call on Sarah Chambers, who was just hacking Kristen Ralston. They're going to call that a shooting foul. Oh, no, they're not. They are in the bonus, excuse me. As Skidmore really having trouble sticking with the Blue Jays offense in the paint. Chambers especially having trouble. She's got 2 fouls, and she's been beat several times on the inside by Parisi, by Jaden Murray, and now by Kristen Ralston, who makes both free throws.
Yeah, and you see Julia Blank not out for long. She's back into the game here. You got to think that Coach Turner needs her height down low. She's seeing all these rebounds for Johns Hopkins. And, I mean, Blank leads his team in rebounds by a factor of 2. Oh, wow.
Andy Levitz from about 30 feet banks one in, and that is exactly what Skidmore needed.
Yeah, that could be a momentum shifter, or at least they have to hope so at this point.
That's an interesting shot choice for sure, but pays off for the Thoroughbreds. Around the pick, Sewell jumper. No, second chance, not this time, as coming away with the boards is Maddie Hastings. Quickly ahead. Levitz thought about another.
Yeah, when you see one go in from that long range, you got to think she's hungry for another pull-up.
Absolutely. Madison Meyer going to drive, backdoor pass. Nice finish was just blown there by Julia Blank. Quickly coming the other way is Dunham. Dunham, head of steam, right to the rack, and the roll.
And Dunham drives so strongly. I mean, she reads the play so well there. She's given up around 4 inches on her opponent, but reads the little chaos down low nicely, gets in, and it's a strong finish.
I know neither of these teams will know what this means, but those of you who are frequent JumboCast watchers will know what it means. She reminds me a lot of Annika Decker, the way she drives to the basket. As here is Sewell. Handoff Greta Miller. And here, once again, is Dunham. Back to Miller. Thought about the drive. Around the screen. Got a mismatch against Maddie Hastings. Dunham now. And a lazy pass is picked off by Blank, who will finish. No, she will not. Again, blowing an easy layup. And quickly coming the other way is Dunham. Dunham, another turnover as Hot Potato has emerged on the court here at Cousins.
Yeah, and Skidmore fixing the problems we were talking about, getting more shots up, playing better defense, getting in passing lanes, but now it's just an issue of inability to finish the layups.
Absolutely. Blank, great cross. Finally gets one to go.
And Blank says, all right, enough of that. Off a strong drive like that, one of these has got to go.
Yeah, that time she went with her right hand up, and it went. Dunham. Here's Miller, back to Dunham. Calling for it is Ralston. Pull up Parisi, rims out, and the board is grabbed by Maddie Hastings. McCarney quickly ahead. 40 seconds to go, first quarter.
And all of a sudden, Skidmore is turning around and starting to control their defensive glass, which was such a trouble point early. And Maddie Hastings has been a big part of that. We've seen her crash in from the outside to collect the rebound on the defensive end multiple times.
Absolutely. Becca Horger checking back into the game for the Thoroughbreds. Alongside her is Andy Levitz. 34 seconds to go in the first quarter. 16 on the shot clock. Blank. Dribbling at the top is Madison Meyer. Here is Blank. Gonna cross over on Murray. Look. Horger gonna drive. Look to have traveled. Blank drives. Euro. Just can't get it. Gets her own board and gets fouled.
Yeah, and I mean, Blank is all over the court at this point. She's starting to try and take things into her own hands. Another strong drive. You saw there a little swifty Euro step. Couldn't get it to go, but that's where hustle comes into play. Her own rebound draws a foul.
Absolutely. We'll see if Hopkins makes any defense-offense substitutions, knowing they're going to get the last shot. It does not look like they will, as Blank misses the first free throw. Blank looking to cut it to 8 here.
Yeah,
and
I
she
mean,
does.
I talked about depth and a lack of standouts, but if there was one on the Skidmore team, it would have to be Julia Blank, especially on the glass and on the defensive end, where she's only second in the team in steals and leads the team by a significant margin in blocks, really controlling the paint of this team.
Hopkins, down low. Murray stops, goes left, and finishes.
Unstoppable.
2 seconds in the quarter. They're going to have to fire Levitz from three-quarter court, short. And at the end of one, Johns Hopkins has a double-digit lead. Skidmore was able to stop the bleeding and run it even the second half of the quarter, but that opening 5 minutes is still paying off big-time dividends for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned it. 20-10 at this point. It's a 10-point game, but you have to remember when it was 10-0. I mean, this Skidmore team has evened it up. They've made it 10-10 in this last sort of 5 minutes, but they're going to have to really pick it up and start finishing more and being more efficient on the offensive end if they want to close that 10-minute gap, that 10-point gap that their slow start gave them. We'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah, we will indeed, as we are about to go to commercial. In that commercial break, I will let you guys know that we have an update from New Hampshire, and that is that the Jumbo's men's basketball team, they have hit cruise control. They are up 17 with 8 minutes to go and look set to head on to the second round of the NCAA tournament tomorrow. As a reminder, they're not the only ones in the tournament. Jeff's women's basketball will be playing at 6:30 right here on JumboCast, so stay tuned. All right, now back to the action on the floor. David, what does Skidmore need to do to not just stem the bleeding, but turn it back around?
Yeah, and I mean, I think, you know, they've sort of evened it up at this point, but we've seen them do that through hustle, through strong driving on the offensive end, through drawing fouls, through being a little more confident in the defensive end and really starting to control their own defensive glass, they're just going to have to turn up the heat even more on those things if they want to return and, tie this game up, especially finishing on the offensive end when they generate those great opportunities. Finishing layups, they've had a couple nice drives and kicks. Finishing those shots as well will be key if they want to bring this back.
Yeah, and I will bring it back to rebounds again. Right now, Skidmore has 6 total rebounds. Johns Hopkins has 7 offensive ones. Meyer gets blocked. Oh, that is a tough foul call that they're going to get, I believe, on Becca Horger, who did not seem to be very close to that play.
Yeah, and I mean, that one, a pretty clear foul, and I'm going to say that it's a smart one. I mean, Murray has been dominating in the post this far. She's not a bad free throw shooter. She's 74%, so she's fairly efficient from the line, but if you compare, would you rather have 2 free throws or would you rather have that little, post turnaround that we've already seen her hit multiple times tonight? I know which one I'm picking. Becca Horger makes the same decision.
She does, and it doesn't work.
Yes. Make me eat my
Hopkins
words.
lead back to 12.
Forget everything I just said.
Levitz thought about another 3. Swings it outside. Maddie Hastings. Levitz being forced to her offside. Good pass. Little up and a block there. Ball bouncing on the floor. Hopkins comes away with it. Huge block there from Michaela O'Neill. Dunham into the front court. Miller telling Murray what to do. Murray gets the ball. Back to Miller. A lot of contact down low, and they're going to get another foul. This one will be on Hastings.
Yeah, and I want to bring back to the other end that nice block by Michaela O'Neill. I mean, if we're doing a defensive comparison, she and Blank line up pretty well. She's the second on this team in steals, Mace Fieldman, and she's first on the team in blocks pretty consistently. She gets low, and they rely on her to sort of control the paint on the defensive end. We see that there with a strong double-handed block.
Referees seem to be waiting on something. It'll be Greta Miller to trigger the inbound for the Blue Jays. Skidmore, if they were to win today, it would be their first ever NCAA tournament win.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been questionable whether or not they would have been in this tournament, but for that big upset win against Ithaca in the final of the Liberty League tournament.
Another nice finish for the Blue Jays. This time, Greta Miller gets the roll, and the lead has ballooned to 14. Hand off, Maddie Hastings. Blank sets the screen. Hastings doesn't want it, kicks. Blank going to take the long 2 and make the long 2. And that is a good sign if you are a Thoroughbred fan. Dunham into Murray. Gets it right back. Trying to find down low to Greta Miller. Now she'll try Murray. Nothing there, so they'll go to Miller. Around the Parisi screen. 10 on the shot clock. Miller going to drive. Tough shot, no. Rebound is grabbed by Julia Blank. Quickly going the other way is Skidmore. Pull up 3. Levitz. Too strong that time, and it'll be Hopkins' ball.
Yeah, and she had that deep 3 off the glass earlier. Wanted the second one, also pushing it towards glass, but couldn't get that one to fall.
Yeah, she prompts me to say what I wanted to say the first one and was going to say before she banked it in, is that maybe when you have transition, don't take pull-up 3s.
Well, I mean, you can't argue with the numbers yet. 1 for 2. First one got it. If it's her shot, you can take that, even on that sort of play.
Good help defense there from Madison Meyer, who has been everywhere in this first half for the Thoroughbreds. Dunham. 5 in the shot clock. Going to drive around Meyer. Meyer with the strip, and they're going to get her with a foul. That's a good play by Meyer, even though it is a foul. Force her to earn it at the line.
Yeah, and Dunham showing us that move she likes where she's driving, got Meyer on her shoulder, draws a little bit of contact, and then pulls up with that sort of behind-the-head reverse layup. But that time, Meyer stripped it low. Foul call, though, and she'll go to the line for 2.
Absolutely. I really like Dunham's free throw routine. That little, backspin ball to herself and then the swish.
Well,
it's a unique
not this
one.
time.
It didn't work this time, but I really like the routine. It's nothing like anything we see around here in the NESCAC. As
And
she
that
makes the
time
second.
she says, oh, swish? All right, there it is.
Yeah. I just had to say it first for it to work.
Right, of course.
Handoff, Emily Page. Now Meyer going to drive left. Floater, off glass, too strong. Fighting for her own rebound, can't corral it, and that one to go to Kara Milliken.
Yeah, and we see an impact that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. I mean, Milliken, tallest player on this team. She does contribute in blocks and rebounds, but also just her presence in the paint really makes driving guards struggle. We saw that on that play. No block, but she had to really lob it up high because of her
Parisi,
presence.
lot of contact. Good no call. Coming away with the board is Maddie Hastings. Running the floor is Blank, and she will finish. Great transition there from the Thoroughbreds.
And that's the kind of play that Coach Turner wants to see more of from her team as they try to turn this around.
Absolutely. Sewell. Milliken now. Parisi around the screen. No, goes the other way. Kicks. Dunham floater. Way too strong. Second chance O'Neal. No. Caught her own shot. That should have been a travel. Sewell 3. No. Third chance is finally grabbed. Guess who? It's Blank again. As she, after a really rough start, is quickly working on a double-double. Pull-up jumper is just short there from Amelia Bedolla. And Dunham bringing across the timeline for the Blue Jays. O'Neal, now it is with a nice backdoor feed, and there she is. O'Neal passed it off, got it back, finished with a right-hand reverse. Leads back to 13. Meyer quickly kicks.
Yeah, that's a touchy finish from O'Neal with two defenders collapsing from either side, reading it to the middle, going up with the reverse, as you mentioned, and a silky finish for two.
Around the screen, gonna drive is Meyer. A lot of contact, she'll get to the line.
Meyer and Dunham back and forth, driving on each other. They've both been impact players for their team so far, and they're doing it with strong drives like that one and tight defense like that on both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, it is Madison Meyer and it is Julia Blank who are keeping the Thoroughbreds in this game because they got, I believe, the majority of the points. I'm going to check real quick for the Thoroughbreds. Blank's got 5, Meyer's got 4, the rest of the team's got 3.
Audrey Blank's got 7, I believe, after that last layup.
You're correct. They have not updated the stats quite yet, but she does have 7 to go along with a lot of rebounds. She got at least 5. They are a little behind on that as well. Meyer gets 1 of 2. It's cut it to a 12-point game.
Yeah, and I mentioned this briefly earlier. I mean, you talked about Blank's contributions on the board, but Hastings, the guard, listed at 5'9", she's been crashing and contributing on the glass too. She actually leads this team in rebounds with 4. Not on the score sheet yet, but she has been contributing, especially on the defensive end with rebounding.
New face checking in for the Blue Jays is Elizabeth Peebles. Great job by O'Neal to keep her dribble alive on her knees. Sewell calling for a pick. 5 on the shot clock. Drives right. Around 1, around a second. Block and a half there. Great play by Emmy Plage. Going the other way. Meyer. Lot of contact. No call. Gets her own board. Kicks it all the way out. Blank. Open. Kicks. 3-ball. Too strong. And Peebles makes her first action of the day with that board.
Yeah, and perhaps a little bit of a makeup call there. I mean, we saw Sewell draw a little bit of contact. That's what made her go down and allow for that big block by Emmy Plage. And then on the other end, when they see a similar amount of contact, they're not going to call it either way.
Absolutely. Murray being almost double teamed, now triple teamed, kicks out. Sewell open 3. No. Peebles long 2. That one doesn't go, and they're going to get... Ooh, that is an interesting call. I thought they were going to get O'Neal with the over the back. Instead, they're going to get Meyer with, I believe, a landing space foul on that rebound attempt.
Yeah, I mean, you saw her reaching around in the box out. Definitely interesting to see that call, given that O'Neal was able to get up over the top and get the rebound anyways. But once again, we see on that play 2 offensive rebounds and alone, and it just seems like even when they're starting to control the glass, they just can't seem to keep them off it, especially Jaden Murray. Just can't seem to be kept off the glass. She's out at the elbow on that play, and still, after being triple teamed earlier, gets the rebound.
Yeah, and you mentioned in the pregame, David, that these teams, at least on paper, had similar height. That's just not true in real life. Hopkins is using and exploiting their height. They're having Parisi, they're having Murray, they're having pretty much anyone on their team post up because they practice that. They practice those little pick plays to get the mismatch and then run the post. And Skidmore does not have the post defense right now to handle it.
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about height comparison. On the whole, they have similar heights, but their tallest players and their bigs that they have crashing are taller than Skidmore's. They've also got, shorter players around the perimeter, but that's fine when you've got Murray and Milliken in low collecting all those rebounds. They're sort of exploiting Skidmore's, all-around sort of small ball play style with that sort of more traditional positional lineup.
Absolutely. And as we come out of this media timeout here at Cousins, we will let you know that whoever wins this game will play the winner of the later game between Tufts and Maine Merchant at 6:30 tomorrow at 6:30 for a spot in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and interesting, as I just mentioned, the height thing. Now we see Jaslyn Chen into the game for her first minutes. She's 6'1", and immediately face guarding Murray to hand out, trying to keep the ball away from her in the post.
And she draws an offensive foul immediately. So really good substitution there by Jessica Turner. And that'll force Murray to the bench as that's her second foul. Replacing her will be Kara Milliken.
Yeah, and you said it. I mean, a very smart, tactical, positional switch there for Coach Turner. Shan usually only plays around 7 minutes a game, but it's moments like this based on the matchup that she can really be effective.
Well, when you have a team where everyone plays, no one's afraid to step in. So if you need someone to go off for 20 minutes, as that three is just off the back iron and the rebound's going to stay with Skidmore, you can do it. If Coach Turner needs Chen to play the rest of the way to deny Jaden Murray and Milliken and Parisi the ball, she can do that no problem. Inbound here from Maddie Hastings. Coming open to get it is Medola. Down low, Chen. Goes up and finishes. Right now, that's looking like the best move Coach Turner's made all day.
Immediate impact on the defensive end turns to immediate impact on the offensive end. They couldn't get to 3 to go, but that's been a big struggle for both teams so far. Only 1 3 all game from Skidmore. He's 1 for 7. Meanwhile, John Hopkins struggling from deep themselves, 0 for 4.
Make that 0 for 5 as that one rims out from Greta Miller. Medola coming the other way. Drives into the lane, stops. Looking for help. Gets it to the top. That is Cassie Davidson. Haven't said her name in a while. Kicks. Open 3. No. Rebound is corralled by Greta Miller. I believe that is 1 for 14 on the day, combined from 3. Hallie Egan. Here is Dunham. Miller lost the handle, and good hands there from Emmy Plage to knock it out of bounds. It'll stay with Hopkins, but real good defense from number 5.
Yeah, I mean, we know Plage is a top defender for this team. Also, really a defender on the defensive glass. Doesn't crash offensively as much, but comes in to help on that side of the ball. And you see the defensive impact again there. Tip for almost a steal, and now it's a block.
Absolutely, and not only that, she would have had Parisi stop dead in her tracks, but Parisi got away with an extra step in the lane there. And Hopkins going to make another substitution, bringing Michaela O'Neill back into the game as they seem to see that this current offense is not working against Jaslyn Chen. Dunham comes around the pick, open jumper, rims out, but another offensive board from Parisi.
Yeah, and now with Murray, who's dominated the offensive glass, out of the game, if there's one thing you can't do if you're Skidmore, it's let this Hopkins team get rebounds out around the three-point line.
Parisi catches, and that time gets called for the travel. Hopkins fans not very happy about it. As bringing it up again is Amelia Medola. Davidson, turnaround, way off. As Cassie Davidson, who struggled shooting in the conference championship game against Ithaca, is struggling shooting again here today. Dunham, handoff O'Neal. Milliken. Juana Parisi wasn't there. Miller collects. 10 on the shot clock. Miller around the screen. Got a mismatch on Chen. Kicks out. Three-pointer. No. That one is off from Dunham. Skidmore can look to transition in a hurry. Little crossover there from Medola. Stops on a dime. Plays for three. That one goes. And it is a 7-point game. Skidmore starting to get back into this one.
And finally, they get one to fall from three. It seems like they've been longing after that make all day to really just swing the momentum, and this one could be it. And it's the same player who is having that impact on the defensive side that we just talked about, and played.
Offensive foul on Parisi, as a good job there by Maddie Hastings. Fighting, and I've said it 2 times, I'll say it a 3rd time. The Skidmore team, since Jaslyn Chen has been put in this game, looks completely different.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, the Blue Jay side of this stadium is a little bit quieter while the Skidmore side clapping up on their feet.
Davidson into Shen. Goes up, not there, and gonna get called for a travel as she switched her pivot foot.
And I just talked about it once again. There's no block logged on that play. There's no defensive rebound on that play. But Milliken's strong inside defense having an impact and forcing the travel.
Final minutes to go, first half, 7-point lead for the Blue Jays. Parisi looking for Milliken. Shen doing a great job face guarding. Swung to the corner, Miller three, way too strong. O'Neal grabs the board, 5 on the shot clock, Dunham. Will she realize? Yes, she does. 3 on the shot clock, gotta take it. Doesn't go, that didn't hit rim, and Skidmore will grab the board and be able to hold for the last shot of the first half. Medola calling out a play. Cassie Davidson now, around one screen. Plage, another 3. Doesn't hit. Rebound grabbed by Miller, 10 seconds to go. Dunham gonna drive, pull up, no. Offensive board, 3 seconds to go, and open, O'Neal got it at the horn. They will count it. Michaela O'Neal with a buzzer beater to swing the momentum back towards the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and Skidmore seemed to have all the momentum on their side going into the half, and that wasn't a bad defensive set. I mean, they pressured down low. Parisi wound up with the ball. 3 players collapsed. They were doing a good job, but she sees the smart play to pass it off to O'Neal as she's falling, and that's a crispy jumper to send them up in the half. Just 2 points more ahead, 29-20. Your score going into halftime here in Cousins Gymnasium between the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays and the Skidmore Thoroughbreds.
Yeah, as we are going to remind you all that we have a very special treat later today. We have this special Jumbos team making their March Madness debut today, and we have a special video highlighting that right now. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Remember, dreams without goals.
Honestly, anytime Michaela North started to get something going for Tufts, Amherst just found a way to answer, and Tufts never could really close that gap.
But it's Amherst able to cap off a 33-0 season. They are your 2017 NCAA Division III Women's Basketball National Champions.
We're human. You get back up.
Who's up top? Russell to her right. Of course, go off with kind of sloppy layup and got it anyways. Maggie Russell.
Strength. Leadership.
And plenty of
power.
play. Decker drives.
Authority.
Pass to O'Brien. Gonzalez. 3 ball.
Guidance.
Got it. And that is how you
Patience.
respond right there. Giving up no space.
It's not
Russell
how
gets
much
the
you
board.
have.
Gonzalez,
you
another
do
3. Come on,
with what you
man.
have.
She puts her hands up. What are you going to do about it? 5 for 5. Lights out.
To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did.
Thought about it. Down low, Russell. Off glass, gets it.
So you got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time.
Throws it over the top to Fuller. Campbell and Maggie Russell was there. She knew it was coming. The same play as they ran with 30 seconds to go. Maggie Russell, the 2 free throws and the steal that put it away for the Jumbos on senior day.
The chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you.
Are you kidding me? Makes the 3, extra pass. Gonzalez with a block on her right.
We did not come this far to just break down and lose now. I'm a winner. I'm going to win.
Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Welcome back to Cousins Gymnasium on the campus of Tufts University for this JumboCast presentation of the first round of the NCAA Division III Women's Basketball Tournament. First, before we get into the second half, I'd like to give a shout out to the other members of our crew. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. Henry Stahl, behind the scenes, directing everything. And then we got Philip Langle and Ethan Grublich behind the cams, getting all these great shots, showing you what's happening. And then, of course, beside me, David Latham. It's always a pleasure to work with you, David. David, tell me, 9-point game with Johns Hopkins in the lead. What do Johns Hopkins need to do to keep that lead, and what can Skidmore do to turn the game around?
Yeah, Riley, I mean, I think there's a couple things that kept coming up when we were talking about this game in the first half, when both teams were sort of swinging, going back and forth after Hopkins established that first lead. Two of those key points were rebounding on Skidmore's defensive end and three-point shooting. We saw on the defensive end when Skidmore was starting to control their glass, we saw Hastings contribute heavily, Blank also helping control the glass. When they were doing that, they weathered the storm on John Hopkins and started to mount comebacks. But when we saw Murray, other players go into the game and start dominating the glass and collecting 2-3 offensive rebounds in one play for John Hopkins, all of a sudden they, started to rebuild those leads, and that's what allowed them to establish that first lead in the first place. And besides that, three-point shooting, I mean, both of these teams really struggling. John Hopkins 0 for 7, Skidmore 2 for 10. The first team to find their stroke could have a serious advantage in the second half.
Yeah, neither of these teams are great three-point shooting teams on the year at large. They both shoot below 40% in the low 30s, but neither of them shoot 20% or 0% respectively. So this is a bit much. And then one more thing on the Johns Hopkins side. Kendall Dunham's been surprising. Not a name we were expecting to see in the starting lineup, and a name who has proven herself deserving of that starting spot from the tip.
Yeah, and I mean, we brought this up again, she's been a good defender around the perimeter. She's played really well to her position and to her strengths. She's not, they're not lacking for ability to rebound because she's on the court. They have their bigs doing that. They have their bigs controlling the paint defensively. She's driving in really effectively, finishing over bigger defenders, drawing fouls. She's had a serious impact so far.
Myers shots, blocks, fighting for it, and coming away with it is Hopkins. Good hustle there from Maddie Hastings, but she couldn't quite corral it. Dunham. Miller now. Around the screen. O'Neal. Into Murray. Going to drive. Off glass. Gets it to go.
O'Neal with another nice finish. We saw she had a couple good ones in the first half. That little reverse layup. She's a crafty player driving in low and also up top. I mean, she can draw a lot of contact from defenders. We've seen a couple times her get tripped up by tight defense, dribble nicely and get back up. And that ball security really provides a lot for this team on offense.
Blank's three doesn't go. Dunham ahead.
2 for 11 now from deep for Skidmore.
Yeah, they're 2 for 11. They're still out shooting Johns Hopkins by 22%. Gonna drive right. O'Neal off glass. This time doesn't go. Fights for her own board. And coming away with it is Julia Blank. A big rebound there. Quickly into the front court. Running the floor is Blank. And great hands there by Murray to tip that and get the turnover.
Yeah, Murray. Nice hustle play. I mean, Blank's a quick player. They want to see her on the drive and on the cutoff ball. She got down low, and it was a good look, but Murray reading the play ahead of time, getting in the passing lane. Good defense.
Good job there by Blank to save the defense, as they had just forgotten and continually forgetting to guard Grace Miller right now. Greta Miller now. Off the pick, O'Brien. Around the screen. Pulls up. That one's short. Rebound is grabbed by McCarney. Pushing the pace is Kate McCartney. Going to drive left. Kicks to the outside. Levitz. Driving right. Against Dunham. Off glass. Gets it to go.
Levitz adding her second bucket of the night.
Yeah, she had that bank three early. Here's Parisi. O'Neal into Murray. Double team comes. Back. Parisi going to get called for, oh no, they're going to call it on Levitz with the arm check. Milliken going to replace Murray. And for Skidmore, it'll be Sarah Chambers back into the game. O'Neal was open for a second. They go the other way to Parisi. Around the screen. lost the handle, got it back, passed down low, and Greta Miller will finish that every time.
Yeah, and I mean, for Parisi, that's an example of turning a mistake, turning it around and turning it into a basket. By, losing the ball there, she made McCarney and Chambers reach in, diving after it. Because she collected it, that opened up a smart backdoor cut. Good management of space by Miller.
Gonna drive, cut middle, through 3 defenders, kicks. Milliken faked everyone in the gym out. Hard off glass, no. Second chance, third chance, Milliken gets her own rebound and will finish.
Milliken there, the nice finish in the post and nice fake around top. But you got to think, if you're Skidmore and you've done your homework, that's not a shot you're particularly worried about. You're much more worried about Carmen Milliken down low than from up top shooting threes. I mean, she's 3 from 19 on the season. That's not where she's going to hurt you.
Here is Chambers trying to go up, and a block from Milliken.
That is where she'll hurt you.
And
Big
good hustle there.
Play.
Good hustle, though, from Madison Meyer to keep possession for the Thoroughbreds. McCarney going to take a seat.
We talked about it in the first half. Madison Meyer's hustle is one of the things that's the reason it's only a 13-point game right now.
Medola to trigger the inbounds. 5 on the shot clock. Open. Meyer going to drive through 2. A lot of contact. Hopkins away with the ball. Zoe Sewell bringing it up for the Blue Jays. O'Neal to Greta Miller. She finally gets it down low to O'Neal, who had been wide open for about 3 seconds. Kicks. Open 3. No. Rebound is good for Parisi.
And I mean, that play just about sums up exactly how they've been hurting the Skidmore team. It's not with threes, right? They just went from 0 for 7 to 0 for 8 on that play. It's hard to imagine what the score might be if they were hitting those shots, but even when they aren't, they're crashing the offensive glass, and when they do that, like Parisi did there, they're building these big leads. Somebody's got to body up on Olivia Parisi coming from the outside for an easy layup.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, after that last play, that Skidmore currently has 17 total rebounds, and Johns Hopkins has 17 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, that just about sums it up. Skidmore only 4 offensive rebounds. That's something they can do sometimes, but it hasn't been here today. Johns Hopkins, as you mentioned, 17 on offense, 36 on defense.
Yeah,
that's not what you're going for.
You're just not going to win games if you're getting out-rebounded by 18.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to state the obvious, but if you keep letting Murray dominate on the inside, and then when she's not on the floor, letting these Hopkins, swing guards, drive in, no box out, and get these boards, you're not going to have a good chance of coming back.
Yeah, I mean, on that last one, Olivia Parisi grabbed the ball off the bounce inside the restricted area, looked around to see if anyone was near her, saw no one, took a breath, paused to go get some popcorn, and then hit the layup.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but even earlier on that play, you saw Miller drive into the post. She had like 3 seconds to get the ball before she even did. She could have had an easy pass to a turnaround. John Hopkins didn't convert on it. Skidmore has to get back to what they were doing around the middle of the first half, where Hastings was crashing in, as I mentioned. Blank was controlling the inside more well. You saw Chen come in. She was doing really well on the inside, sort of keeping Murray off the boards. That's the formula they need to go back to, and if they do, they can get back in this game.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Blank, you mentioned Shen. Neither of them are on the floor right now. Going up strong and finishing there is Emmy Plage.
Plage, a bright spot so far for the Skidmore team, defensively and offensively. When they're starting to go to a drought, she's had a couple nice big buckets, steals, and blocks that have sort of weathered the storm a little bit.
That can't happen if you're Skidmore. Greta Miller literally drove from the free throw line to the basket in a straight line and finished. Lead back up to 15. Emmy Plage. Levitt's going to pull. Way off. Not even hitting rim. Quickly coming the other way is Zoe Sewell. Skidmore crowd trying to get something going. Miller again. Parisi. Crossover. Kicks to the corner. Sewell going to drive baseline. And a blocking foul there on Maddie Hastings.
Skidmore, not a bad defensive set there. Manned up well. But, I mean, that just can't – the John Hopkins offense looks like a well-oiled machine at this point. They're running their sets. They're calm. They're collected. That almost seems like a worst-case scenario for them, that they draw a foul and retain ball possession.
Yeah. O'Neal. Lob into Milliken. O'Neal comes off the back screen, pulls up, and gets it. And Michaela O'Neal starting to get her point total up. She's got 8. Tied for the lead in scorers on the Hopkins side. That one doesn't go. Ball being fought for, kicked out, open 3. Levitz finally connects.
And though that's what they need. That's exactly what they need if they're going to get back into this game. You see the hustle play on the offensive end. They're diving on the ground for rebounds. And then Levitz hitting the threes. We talked about their need to heat up if they're going to get back.
O'Neal just goes right in and gets what she wants. And she becomes the first player in double figures with 10. Skidmore, trailing by 16, looking to get something going here. Madola gets absolutely denied by Milliken. Kicks. Levitz another 3. That one's short. Good hustle. But she stepped out of bounds, did Sarah Chambers. And immediate timeout on the floor.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned O'Neal scoring so far, but she is on the fast track to a double-double. She also has 8 rebounds. 5 of those are offensive. She has 2 blocks. Her presence in the paint, even sort of a swingman forward, can't be denied so far in this game. And she's also winning with efficiency. I mean, that's something we see these top players for the Blue Jays do consistently. Olivia Parisi, her season percentage from the field, 48%. Michaela O'Neal, Greta Miller, both shooting around 42%. So far in this game, Parisi and O'Neal are 50% each, and that kind of efficiency is not going to let up unless Skidmore changes something defensively.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Johns Hopkins offense in this third quarter, not what we saw in the first half. In the first half, it was, we're going to use Dunham, and we're going to go down low to Murray and Milliken. In this second half, we've seen the wings step up. We've seen Greta Miller and we've seen Michaela O'Neal, both with multiple baskets quickly here in this third quarter. So Hopkins is proving, David, what you said right from the start, which is we can beat you with anyone. And right now, Skidmore is not doing that. They have a couple players who have gotten up there in points, but they're just not consistently producing across the board the way they have been this season.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of it, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it starts on the glass. Parisi, 4 rebounds so far this game. All of them are on the offensive end. Murray has 5 rebounds in this game. 4 of them are on the offensive end. A lot of these players who they're not necessarily going to on the defensive glass, that's when more Greta Miller, we've seen her show up there so far, getting all the rebounds on the offensive end. That's why they've taken 11 more shots in this game. And, I mean, if you forget about shooting percentages, when you have that kind of disparity just in the volume of shots, it's hard to get a win.
And a travel before the main basket on Murray, as she just couldn't quite corral it cleanly and go up at the same time. New name entering the floor for the Thoroughbreds is Melissa Severino. Plage goes up, off glass, no, rebound Murray.
Once again, Michaela O'Neal forcing a difficult shot in the post. Even when she's not blocking them, she's having an impact, and nobody seems to really be able to get by her or score on her effectively.
Yeah, Dunham with another turnover there. That one, she looked to kick out almost as if it was a drive and catch and shoot, and then realized that it was Jaden Murray behind the three-point line. Levitz thought about it, gonna take it. Rims out, rebound is Murray's. Quickly coming the other way. Here is Dunham calling out a play. Peebles. Milliken at the top being guarded there by Plage, and I'm not sure what the call is. I think they're going to get an offensive foul on Murray. That's her third, and that will immediately trigger dual substitutions. Parisi and Miller back in, Peebles and Murray out.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing you have to point out for Skidmore is we talked about their scoring depth. Hasn't really shown up in the way they're used to in this game. I mean, generally, Kate McCarney, Amelia Medola, right, Cassie Davidson are serious contributors for this team, averaging 7.5, 5.9 points a game. They really help out when, Blank and other top players aren't hitting their shots, but so far today, all three of those players are yet to score a basket. They could be the key to a turnaround for Skidmore.
O'Neal, pull up, short, gets her own rebound, kicks, extra pass. Milliken gets travel. But once again, Michaela O'Neal on the offensive boards.
Yeah, and I mean, that play to that point was an example of everything that John Hopkins has been doing right on offense and Skidmore has been struggling with on defense. But then we see Blank with a nice defensive play to body up, force Milliken to have, trouble with the footwork. It's a good defensive play, and that's what saves them the basket.
Cassie Davidson checking back in for the Thoroughbreds. Medola bringing the ball up, still looking for her first points of the day. Way off. That's not going to help. Greta Miller with another defensive rebound. Quickly going the other way. Calls, handoff Michaela O'Neal. Here is Zoe Sewell. Miller back to Sewell. Going to drive left, spin. Nothing there, good defense from Cassie Davidson. 10 on the shot clock. Faked around the screen. Pull up. Too strong. And the board is grabbed by Julia Blank.
One thing I want to point out off ball on that play is that Parisi-Hastings matchup down low. Parisi moving back and forth. They've looked for that pass down low a couple times, but Hastings really D'ing up, face guarding, keeping it off, keeping the ball away, and that's exactly where they don't want the ball, and she does a nice job sort of preventing the inside pass there.
Yeah, no contact there. Good, clean defensive play from Milliken. Skidmore making a substitution back in the game is Maddie Hastings. And a foul there as right after she had made a really good defensive play, Milliken a little too ambitious with an off-ball foul. Sideline inbound going to be triggered by Kate McCarney. Skidmore really needs to get going here if they want to get back in this game. 16 is a lot to get in a quarter. Davidson, spin move, double comes, open jumper, got it. Julia Blank with another one.
Yeah, she's shown us a handful of times tonight why you can't leave her open on that catch and shoot from the mid-range. That's one shot you don't want her taking if you're the Blue Jays.
Yeah, you cannot give her that, especially when no one else is hitting. Sewell driving on Davidson, spin move, kicks. Milliken, that's short. You get the feeling from that shot why she generally tries to post up. McCarney bringing it across the timeline. Here is Blank, handoff McCarney. Davidson gonna take it and make it. And all of a sudden, Skidmore starting to heat up.
Talk about Davidson as one of the players that's usually a contributor for this team who needed to step up, and we see her do it there. That could be a momentum shifter 3, and she pulled up and got it with confidence.
We'll see if Skidmore can do what they couldn't do at the end of the second and keep their momentum through the quarter break. O'Neal drives, no. Offensive rebound, Milliken. Miller, no. Defensive rebound there is grabbed by Julia Blank. Skidmore will hold for the last shot. Coach Turner making sure they don't screw up the timing this time. Driving hard, McClerney. A lot of contact, no. Second chance, Blank with the board, up hard, no. Third chance, that'll be the end of the quarter. And we go to the fourth. 43-32 Blue Jays. David, I don't know about you. A minute ago, I was about ready to call game and write Skidmore off, but if they can shoot like they did in that last minute, we got a game on our hands.
Yeah, and I mean, I was thinking the exact same thing, Riley. I was thinking we're going into the break. We probably want to talk about how this John Hopkins team has established themselves on the glass, and if other teams in this tournament are watching, you got to think they're taking note of the physicality they're playing with, the pace they're pushing, and how well they're playing. But let's take a look at the Skidmore Thoroughbreds team. They were down 10-0. Riley, it's only an 11-point game going into the final quarter. If you eliminate that slow first 5 minutes they had, they've been playing basket for basket with John Hopkins for the majority of this game. Every time John Hopkins goes on a stretch, they get a nice pull-up from the mid-range. They hit a 3 to bring it back in. They had a couple nice hustle plays on the defensive end. They're starting to put those plays together, and if they can really roll with that momentum into this last quarter, this is far from an over game.
Yeah, I think the biggest bright sign for the Thoroughbreds was that Cassie Davidson finally got one to fall from the outside. She had been struggling in the Centennial League tournament, or excuse me, in the Liberty League tournament. Struggling here today in Medford, but if she can get going from the outside, she can bring this back to a close game and even maybe to a tie game in a very quick way.
Yeah, absolutely, Riley. And another thing I'm going to point out, I mean, we talked about Maddie Meyer having a great performance so far, but usually she's a 40% field goal shooter, and, you know, pulling up has not been a strong suit for her so far this game. She's 1 for 8. We know that she's capable of combining the hustle and the defensive play she's played with good shooting, and if she can start to do that and play really that sort of basketball on both sides of the court, she could be an impact player as Skidmore tries to get back into this game.
Moment of truth time for the Thoroughbreds. Can they get the stops and the baskets they need, or will Johns Hopkins move on to the next rounds? Miller into Murray. Squares up. Skips to Dunham. Miller around the Murray screen. Going to drive left. Being forced back middle. Up and under. And a foul.
Some nice footwork there by Greta Miller to get open then on that left side, draw contact. She'll go to the line for 2.
Yeah, Greta Miller and Michaela O'Neill are getting what they want in this second half. Miller's first free throw does not go. And this, if you're Skidmore, is something to remember. Johns Hopkins is a woeful free throw shooting team. They shoot 68% from the line.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple players you want to look out for. Jaden Murray, a big who you don't want to foul. She shoots 74%. Olivia Parisi, you mentioned it before, 83%. But outside of those 2 players,
Davidson drives, a lot of contact. Almost got the and 1, but she'll get to the line for 2.
Yeah, and perhaps that 3 gave her a spark of confidence because that was a strong drive, and that's the kind of physical play they're going to need to start pushing if they want to get back.
Yeah, it did for sure, because I saw her get the ball in the same spot with about 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. She thought about the drive and instead passed it back. This time, no hesitation, right to the rack, and makes the first free throw. Davidson gets them both, and it is back to a 10-point game for the first time since the first minute of this half. Across the timeline is Kendall Dunham. O'Neill. Parisi. Dunham coming around the back screen. Skidmore doing a good job denying Murray anything. O'Neill trying to get it to her, not there. They try directly. Help comes out of bounds. It'll stay Hopkins' ball, 6 to shoot.
Skidmore looking stronger in their defensive sets. John Hopkins running slow, collected plays with a lot of off-ball cutting, a lot of moving screens, but Skidmore controlling
O'Neill
it well.
3, got it! The first one they hit all day, and just when they needed it.
Yeah, and I'm talking about good defensive sets, but all they've had the guard so far is the inside. That's one thing we've neglected to consider is that.
Davidson for 3. That goes!
Okay.
All right, now things are heating up in Medford.
All of a sudden, we go from over 2 for 10 and 0 for 8, and now it's back and forth, ping pong. You got a 3, I got a 3, everybody gets a 3.
Trying to feed Murray, can't get it to go. Second chance, no. Rebound, saved, and a great finish. Great hustle play by Olivia Parisi to keep the momentum from building.
And once again, that play represents everything that John Hopkins has done right in this game. Murray with 2 offensive boards. I mentioned how many she has. And then Parisi, when she sees the double collapse, she's there to collect herself. Brilliant pass as she's falling out of bounds to Murray for an easy layup. And that's another thing, Rob. We're talking about the Thoroughbreds getting in this game, but they've been fairly lucky with the way the Blue Jays have been shooting the ball so far from deep. I mean, they're not a fantastic three-point shooting team. They're usually not as woeful as they've been today. If they start hitting shots like Michaela O'Neill did on that last play, it might be a ball game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if I'm one of the 2 teams sitting in the bleachers right now, if I'm Maine Merchant or if I'm the Jumbos, I'm thinking, what happens if I win, and tomorrow I have to play a Johns Hopkins team that is shooting at or above what they shoot this season. It's not going to be easy. Like, these teams, they are both underperforming their shooting percentages today, and they're both finding ways to get it in the basket consistently. Neither one of them is going to be an easy win for whoever wins that second game.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned that there's definitely takeaways, right? When you're watching this game before your game tomorrow, if you're Merchant Marine or Tufts and you're hoping to win in advance tomorrow, you're thinking, okay, we have to be lucky. If John Hopkins is hitting their threes, they're going to hurt us. You see how they're playing even without that element. But at the same time, you see, if we can keep them off the offensive glass, I mean, that has been the main dimension of their offensive set so far, is that they're getting 3 shots going down the court.
You're not going to get 3 shots when you're dealing with Maggie Russell. That's just not happening. McCarney. Skidmore being urged on by their faithful here. McCarney with a head of steam handoff. Levitz. Hastings. Davidson thought about another one. Drives. Off glass. Gets it to go.
Talk about immediate impact. I mean, microwave badge. Cassie Davidson, silent for almost 3/4 of basketball, no buckets, and all of a sudden, I think that's 10 in real rapid fire.
It is 10, exactly,
shooting.
David.
2 strong drive layups, 2 threes. All of a sudden, she's 0 to double digits, as Drake would say, real quick.
And a turnover from the Blue Jays. And I know I can hear it in front of me from the Skidmore faithful, but you can sense a little bit of momentum shift here in Cousins. Coach Turner urging her team to speed up the pace as she can feel it as well. Davidson gonna drive left, pass, blank, finishes.
And
8-point game.
You talk about smart play from Cassie Davidson. She does that drive that works so well. She knows exactly how the Blue Jays are going to react. They've seen her do that 2 times in a row. This time, the bigs collapse on her. She knows Blank's going to be wide open. Brilliant play from Cassie Davidson to set up that Julia Blank layup.
Down low, Parisi being forced. Tough shot. No, rebound is Andy Levitz's. Quickly coming the other way. Davidson on the run. Lost the handle. McCarney comes to save it. Skidmore can cut it to 5 with a 3. McCarney drives right. Off glass, no. Second chance, fighting for it. Big rebound by Jaden Murray.
Yeah, now Dunham says, guys, motion to the ground. Let's slow down.
Absolutely. Parisi. Into Murray. Handoff, Dunham with a head of steam. Kicks. Open 3, Miller. That one doesn't go. And this board is corralled by Julia Blank. Running the floor is Blank. Open, catches, kicks. Levitz 3. Got it! 5-point game just like that.
Skidmore from being unable to hit anything. Now it seems like they just can't miss. It's like the basket has a magnetic field attached to it, attracting the ball. Levitz in the beginning, Davidson twice. Levitz again. 5 points separating these 2 teams.
Parisi, pull-up jumper, gets the roll. Skidmore looking to push it. Davidson, inside, Blank, got it and the foul!
I said it a couple plays ago, I'll say it again. Cassie Davidson with a great read offensively. She's heated up, and that opens up so much for you. It shows on that play. I mean, you don't have to score every play, but once they have to respect you on that play defensively, it opens up so much more. They see her with the ball at the 3-point line, immediate closeout, good pass to Blank, who really is turning it up on the inside.
For sure. Free throw is good. 4-point game here at Cousins. It was 16 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and we started to say it at the end of the quarter, just how John Hopkins was able to dominate at the beginning of this game. These are tournament teams.
What a play by Parisi.
I'll stop talking now. Olivia Parisi, brilliant. We saw her do it 2 times in the beginning. Again, a case of good defense, better offense. Defender all over her, hands up, smart play, but she draws the contact and gets that 5-10-foot pull-up she's so well known for to go.
Makes the free throw, lead back to 7, and a full court zone press here for the Blue Jays. Broken brilliantly by the Thoroughbreds. McCarney calling out a play. Levis wants the ball, not getting it. Hastings. Davidson down low. Blank gets hit. Finishes anyway.
How many times are we going to see that connection?
Julia Blanc going off here in the second half.
I think 3 out of 4 plays in a row. Smart play from Davidson down low and a strong finish from Blank. She struggled with those in the beginning, but now it's looking automatic.
She's got 16, leading scorer in the game. Parisi drives, kicks. Milliken faked it. Can't get that one to go, gets her own board. Lot of contact, but that looked like it was all ball from here.
Yeah, I don't know how our angle is. Blank, after giving up the rebound, made a nice play. I mean, she went up early. Milliken had a second, but she used that long reach to still get a hand on it. But they'll send Karen Milliken to the line, shoot 2.
Missed the first. Crowd getting into it here. Skidmore's traveling student section barking. Didn't work that time.
And that trip to the stripe, fairly representative of Karen Milliken and this Blue Jays team out large from the line. She shoots around 61%. She heads 1 for 2 there. And it's a 6-point ball game. Hopkins not giving up its lead, but Skidmore is knocking at the door.
Yep. Plage. Davidson. Drives left. Off glass. Gets fouled.
And you got to think Bretta Miller made a good adjustment there. She held with her the whole way. She knows she loves that left-hand drive. I mean, at this point, you have to think they know it after seeing it work so many plays in a row. She gets there, but looked fairly clean, but, you know, a little bit of contact, and Davidson go to the line for 2.
Yeah, the way Cassie Davidson's driving left right now, if you're Johns Hopkins, you almost have to give her her right hand to prevent her from getting to the left, because if she gets to the left, it's basically a guaranteed basket for Skidmore.
And that's the thing we've talked about time and time again, is when you open up one area of your game and you're so successful like that, that opens up the whole rest of the court for you and for your teammates.
Miller drives left, being shoved off. A lot of contact. Missed a bunny. Rebound comes out to Dunham.
One thing to point out, it's not just a three-point problem. Hopkins has been fighting on the inside, getting a bunch of shots, passing it well, but they haven't actually been that efficient from layup range. They've missed a lot of give-me's like that one that have really helped Skidmore stay in it when Hopkins could have blown open a lead.
Hand check called on Cassie Davidson. That'll be her second personal, and that will be the 4th team foul, which means that the Blue Jays are shooting the rest of the way here in Medford. Coming to get it is Susie. Sewell at the top. Into Parisi. Gonna drive. Tough finish over Plage. We'll get it to go.
And it seems like every time Skidmore goes on a little run and starts to draw this back in, Olivia Parisi comes in with an acrobatic finish from the mid-range.
McCarney pull up. Got it.
McCarney also one of the players I mentioned who they rely on for points, for contributions in the area of around 6 a game. She gets on the board for the first time there.
Here is Sewell. Sewell now. Wanted to give it to Miller, didn't. 10 on the shot clock. Parisi facing up again. Gonna go hard again and gets fouled. She'll get to the line.
And that's what we've talked about. Sometimes it seems like with Olivia Parisi on drives like those, if it's not a bucket, it's a foul. It's something. Because she draws those so effectively with a physical drive, the shoulder down, and she's effective from the free throw line too. We'll see if she can have a fruitful trip to the stripe here.
Makes the first one, nothing but net there. Gets them both. 6-point game.
Skidmore has brought this game back, but it seems like they can't break this 4-6 point barrier due to the efforts of the All-Centennial first-team grad student Olivia Parisi.
Yeah, you got to start wondering, is it time to start fouling on the defensive end? Blank. Turnaround. Got it.
And that's where she's been effective, not just inside, but that's her third nice pull-up jumper from around the stripe area so far this game.
Julia Blank's got 18 now. Dunham into Miller. Blank on defense. Kicks. Sewell didn't even look at the basket there. 5 on the shot clock. Into Miller. Gonna drive with her left. Gets blocked! What a play by Julia Blanc!
Julia Blanc, Miller with a strong drive there, and I mean, that is their ideal. They want 30 seconds and a nice shot, but it isn't a nice shot when she's there.
2 seconds on the shot clock. Timeout, Hopkins. They need a basket here, because if you don't get a basket, Skidmore's getting the ball in a 4-point game, and the way they're scoring the ball, it's all but a guarantee to be a one-possession game the next time they see the ball back.
Yeah, and I used the words well-oiled machine to describe the John Hopkins offense earlier. Now that's starting to look like the team in white and green. They can't seem to be stopped on the offensive end. John Hopkins not necessarily slowing down in terms of scoring, but this needs to be a basket for them given how, honestly, poorly they're managing this Skidmore offense so far going into these last 2 minutes of play.
If you're Skidmore, David, you got 2 timeouts left. Do you think about maybe going defense-offense here, putting someone really tall on the inbounder, trying to deny them an inbounds pass altogether?
With 2 minutes and 30 seconds to play, I'm not sure. Honestly, given the lineup they have, I think that's the lineup you have in anyways. They don't have like a standout tall player.
Parisi turns up. No. Rebound is grabbed by Skidmore. Hopkins got a really good look, just couldn't get it to fall. McCarney across the timeline. Just over 2 minutes to go. Cassie Davidson wants the ball. Denying that are the Blue Jays. McCarney. No. Rebound. A lot of contact. Blank going to the line.
You mentioned the words on pace for a double-double in the first half, Riley, and it's looking like that right now. Leading the team in rebounds and points, Julia Blank has 18 and 9 boards now.
I believe that rebound would be board number 10. Big free throws here for Blanc. Missed the first. A pivotal miss for the junior. Missed them both. And just when Hopkins handed Skidmore a big lifeline, Skidmore throws it away.
Yeah, and the 2 players that have been instrumental for these teams, Blanc and Parisi now, both having mishaps on the offensive end of the ball, but neither team can convert on the other side.
Sewell drives left. O'Neal 3. No. Rebound. Who else? Now she definitely got the double-double. McCarney quickly ahead. Good job saving it. Blank. McCarney around the screen. Drives, kicks. Good action and a foul. Good drive there from Maddie Meyer. She'll get to the line.
Got to think Meyer's wishing that Sewell fouled her just a second later on that one because, well, it was after the play. She had a nice little reach-in finger roll finish.
Madison Meyer at the line for 2. 4-point game. Got that one. And for the first time since the 2nd minute of the game, it is a 1-score game.
And with just a minute and 20 seconds to play, Madison Meyer hits both free throws, avenging Julia Blank's fruitless trip to the stripe around 30 seconds earlier. And she's got to be thinking that if I hit both of those free throws, we would have a tie ball game still.
You can't think about that right now. You just got to think about making a stop. Jaden Murray back in on offense for the Blue Jays.
1 possession dividing these 2 teams.
Murray, handoff O'Brien. McCarney right there. Doesn't get it. Rebound is Levitz's. Skidmore can tie, take the lead with a 3. 1 minute to go here in Cousins. McCarney around the screen, drives left, off glass, tie game!
And all of a sudden, there were 16 points We were talking about John Hopkins' dominance, and all of a sudden this is a tie game with 48 seconds to play. McCarney showing up when needed. Strong drive and bucket. Will Hopkins respond?
Miller. Dunham. Drives right. Gets shoved off. Grabbing the rebound is Skidmore. 3-second difference. Shot clock, game clock. Timeout, Skidmore.
Skidmore looking like the giant killers right now. We talked about their final game against Ithaca, who blew them out by around a 20-point margin in the regular season. They came back and beat them by 2 late to win the Liberty League Championship. And now they say, let's dance. We have NCAA women's basketball action. Skidmore has tied the game and gotten the ball with 28 seconds to play.
David, I mean, they don't call it March Madness for nothing, right?
I guess they don't. I really guess they don't.
All right, so David, if you're Coach Jessica Turner, who are you giving the ball to, knowing this is your chance to win the game right here, right now?
If we're talking about what's worked for these last 10 minutes, I'm giving it to Davidson. I'm giving it to Cassie Davidson and letting her make a read. She's been effective at getting the bucket herself, but she's also been effective at dropping it off to Blank. Blank is their weapon right now, but a lot of these buckets for her late have been assisted by Davidson. That's kind of their dual threat option at this point.
Interesting. Hopkins gonna foul Andy Levitt, sending her to the line for 2. Wow.
And an extremely interesting tactical play by Coach Bixby of John Hopkins. Levitt's 64% free throw shooter. Coach Bixby wants her team to have the last shot. After that first free throw won't go.
The first.
After the first free throw won't go, that's looking like a good play. We'll see how the second pans out.
Makes the second. Timeout, Johns Hopkins.
And Skidmore has their first lead of the game. But if you're looking how John Hopkins has been playing defensively versus offensively, you got to think it's a smart choice to say, I believe more in our ability to score a basket than to stop a basket against this Thoroughbreds offense at this point in the game.
I wonder, though, if Hopkins brings someone on the floor who is not a good free throw shooter, does Skidmore return the favor?
You know, with the lead at this point, I don't think so. You have to D up. I think they're going to have confidence in their defense. Sending a person to the line at this point when you have the lead as opposed to tying is giving them a chance to tie or get back in this game. 27 seconds. I think they're focusing on defense and running the best set they possibly can.
I have to agree with you. However, I feel like if they had made both free throws, that might be a very different conversation in the Skidmore huddle. Though, I would not be surprised if you see a little bit of a press here. They do not want to let the Blue Jays get the last shot. Skidmore student section and the fans rising to their feet. Hopkins fans doing the same on the other side. Everyone standing here in Medford. 27 seconds to go. 1-point game. 1 timeout aside. Both sides in the bonus.
And the stadium was quiet in the timeout. All of a sudden, the Skidmore fans stood up. Get up, everybody. Both sides are on their feet for what could be or could not be the final play of this game. Hopkins trailing by 1.
O'Neal to Miller. 20 seconds to go. They want Murray down low. Get it to her. O'Neal coming off the screen. Double team comes down low to Murray. Doesn't finish. Rebound is by Skidmore. And a jump ball. Skidmore possession.
And we talked about Julia Blank's impact on both sides of the ball, leading this team in blocks. She has 55 on the season. The next top player on the team has 24. And it comes in when they need it most in the tournament. That's not her first block at a clutch, important moment in this game.
Yeah, now there's 11 seconds, so there is time. If you're Hopkins, do you try and trap once or do you immediately foul, David?
I think you try one trap. I think you really focus on stopping this inbound. I mean, you send them the line for 2. Depending on the player, you're probably going down 2 or 3 points as opposed to really being a win with any bucket. So I think before you foul, you can give up 2-3 seconds. I think you try to get on the inbounds pass, try for a deflection, try for a quick trap. If that doesn't work, maybe you foul with 7-8 seconds to play.
Hopkins has 1 timeout remaining if they need it. Skidmore is out of timeouts. And they don't want to make the mistake that Tufts coach Brandon Linton did in the NESCAC tournament and call a timeout they don't have, because that is an easy way to blow a 1-point lead.
And now we see Jaden Murray out of the game. Carmillican in her place.
Yeah, you have to make that defense-offense substitution. Hastings in. And they're going to foul immediately. They're going to foul Julia Blank, send her to the line.
Yeah, and you saw Parisi reaching in, trying to get a hand on that ball first, but Blank controls it strongly, and she's forced to foul. Blank.
And a defense-offense substitution for the Thoroughbreds as Maddie Meyer coming back in.
Like exactly the player that Skidmore wanted with the ball off that inbounds. Best free throw shooting percentage on the team of 79%.
Gets the first two-point lead.
The Skidmore bench was locking arms. John Hopkins' side looks stunned.
Makes them both. Timeout, Johns Hopkins. All right, now it's no question, right, David? You foul.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, Riley. And John Hopkins has to know that's Skidmore's game plan, most likely coming in. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go with a quick inbounds pass around to find one of their better three-point shooters outside.
If this was NBA rules with a stop clock after a basket, you could use that to your advantage and run a play to the basket. But with a running clock, you cannot afford to score if it does not tie the game. So you got to go for a three or get fouled. Those are your two options for the Blue Jays. And in this moment, there are two names that I got my eye on. It's number 11 and number 12. Where are they?
Yeah, specifically, I'm going to point out Michaela O'Neal. I mean, she takes the most threes on this team by a fair margin and has one of the better percentages. We talked about this earlier with Miller, especially now that we see the set inbounding. That's the player I'm looking out for to get the ball here. She sets up around the free throw line.
Miller to trigger the inbound. Into Dunham. No foul. O'Neal gets it. Takes the three. No. Rebound by Skidmore and a foul. And it'll be who else but Maddie Hastings, the one who put all the effort into that first half with two free throws at the line with a chance to seal it by hitting one of them.
Yeah, we talked about Hastings' impact on the glass early. We were talking about a Julia Blank double-double. She had 5-6 boards, but Hastings had a sneaky 7 rebounds already, and most of it was on the defensive end, where she was really controlling the glass, crashing from the outside, and keeping Hopkins off it.
Missed the first.
And if she doesn't make this free throw, this ball game is anything but over.
Yeah, but they have no timeouts, do Hopkins, so they're going to have to get it up the court in a hurry if this is a live ball. Missed it.
Missed.
2 seconds. Gotta go. No good. Wouldn't have counted anyway. And Skidmore from 16 down comes back to shock the world here in Medford.
And as Skidmore players embrace at the half court, John Hopkins' team retreating to the bench. They had a 16-point lead. I remember, Riley, with around 3 minutes left in the third quarter, you said to me, if Skidmore is going to come back into this game, it has to start now. What happened after that? Cassie Davidson 3, pull-up mid-range from Julia Blank, and all of a sudden, as Jalen Brown would have said, the momentum has shifted.
The momentum has shifted indeed. Skidmore with their first ever NCAA tournament win, and what a game it was. For all of us here at JumboCast, thank you so much for tuning into this classic. We can only hope that the doubleheader's second half that starts in 45 minutes will be just as good. Make sure to stay tuned for Sam Burrell and Jared Cohen on the mic with Tufts facing off against Maine Merchant Academy at 6:30. Thank you and have a good night.
And you got to think both those teams watching this game, it's a tough act to follow. Such a pleasure to bring it to you. As Riley mentioned, JumboCast will be back shortly with our second matchup of the day. We'll see you soon.